Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on our next Auditors webinar on MQ Motivational Questionnaire. My name is Ildikó Csősz, and I'm Head of Business at Valoro Consulting in Hungary, one of the partners of Auditors, and it's really a pleasure for me to be hosting this session. What is our program for today? There will be a short introduction of Auditors first, and then Cindy is going to give us a brief introduction into the motivational topic. And then Gab is going to talk about the tool itself, so MQ Motivational Questionnaire. And now I'd like to hand things over to Gábor Nagy, founder and managing director of Auditors, who most of you already know well, I think. So over to you, Gábor.
Thank you, Cindy, and warmly welcome everybody today for this webinar. Yes. Audiotools.com. We are developers of psychometric tools. CreateMap and MQ are our best known tools, but we have also others, and we also develop 360 assessments, very concise and effective ones. We also have surveys for engagement, for organizational effectiveness, for team effectiveness, and we also provide user training and support. This webinar is also part of these training and support, and this one was initiated by our user community. So this was asked by you, suggested by you, that we should have this format. And most of the speakers of this series, because you can see we will have many other lined up, most of the speakers are our users. So this is for users to share their experience and for users to ask questions. And of course, we also welcome people who are new to Auditors and our tools. And also we are going to make sure that it doesn't matter if it's the first time you hear about these tools or if you are an expert user, there will be something new and interesting for everyone. And the global footprint of Auditors, you see here a circle, a disk. So that's our headquarters, Berlin, where I am talking from right now. And we have our partners, our distributors, in the areas where you see an arrow. So we have two distributors in the UK. South from Berlin, you see VFMO. And I talk a little bit about more of VFMO because today the other speaker was supposed to be the managing director of VFMO, Petra Zander, who unfortunately suddenly couldn't make this. She's very sorry, asked me if I can jump in. Sure. So we will see Petra in upcoming webinars. She has other topics as well. And VFMO is the distributor for all German-speaking regions, and we have distributor in Italy. And then as we move towards east, we arrive to Budapest, where we have our esteemed partner Valoro Consulting. Ildikó, our host, is the general manager of Valoro Consulting. And more towards east, we have our distributor in Turkey. I also see participants from Turkey, great. And then in Africa, we have distributor in Kenya, in South Africa, and then more towards the east, we arrive to the United Arab Emirates, where our distributor partner is Cognitive Dimensions, and their lead consultant and founder, Dr. Cindy Erasmus, will be the other speaker today. I'm so glad to do this with you, Ildikó and Cindy. And then more to the east, we have distributor in India, in Thailand. I also saw representative from Thailand today. Then Singapore, Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, and multiple distributors in China. You can see a link here that you can find on our website, and you can find the contact information and links to our distributor companies. Welcome to visit them and ask about our products. And with that, we are going to hear a introduction to the motivation topic in general from Cindy. I stop sharing and Cindy, please take over.
You. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining the session. So what I thought I'd do is that a lot of people may be well aware of the tools and utilization of the tools, but I'm assuming that there will be people that are unfamiliar with our tools and perhaps even the concepts that go into it. So I thought before we dive into the tool that we have that measures motivational drivers and it links to the engagement of employees, there's a direct correlation between those concepts, that I would just provide some more of a high level in terms of motivation, why it's important, what the trends are, and then I'll hand back over to Gabor to look at our specific tool, the MQ, the Motivational Questionnaire, which assesses these elements of motivation that have become critical in the workplace at the moment. Can everybody see my screen? Right.
Yes.
Thank you. So let me move on. So really what I'm going to look at today is when we talk about motivation, what is it? What are the trends? What are the research implications and the strategic implications for organizations today? Motivation has moved, it's changed, it's shifted. It is quite a dynamic concept, and it's a concept that you can't measure once and then assume it's the same for a continued period of time. But we'll look at that in more detail. So if I look at what we're going to do today, what are the motivational drivers? What is the business impact? The latest findings. So I've researched the latest findings globally. So despite our footprint not including Australia or New Zealand or North America or South America, I've looked at trends globally in terms of motivation. And I've looked at what's happened to them. What are the differences? Are there differences in terms of gender, age, region, culture? As well as the implications for leaders. And then how do you measure that? Always, where is the action? It doesn't help knowing about all of this, but there's no call to action. So what are motivational drivers? There are many definitions of motivational drivers. To me, one of the most concise ones, it's whether it's conscious or unconscious, it's the thing that energizes you, directs you, and sustains your behavior. So it's the thing that draws you and pushes you. And it can range, it's obviously on a range from more intrinsic motivators, which sit inside you, all the way to extrinsic motivators, which are externally determined. And there's a variation in between. And they are not static, right? They can be different in different forms of life. They can be different based on culture. But when Gabor looks at the wheel of our motivational drivers, you will see that it's highly unlikely that you're going to have zero on any motivational driver. Something will kick in somewhere, but it might be very low versus very high. So don't worry about, do I have one? Don't I have one? Am I more on the one side versus the other side? That's not important. What is important is what is fundamentally driving you at the moment and understanding it can change. So you'll see 38% of people say that their main driving factor has changed in the past 3 years. That's from the research. We'll talk about practical examples later as we've done once we're through the assessment tool. But even my personal driver has changed. That was due to COVID. It could be due to your age. It could be due to your family circumstances changing. Yeah, but in the last, that's almost 40% of people have changed their main driver. Have companies assessed this in the last 3 years? Do they know what they're doing? Are they actioning the right things? So here's some of the reasons why motivation matters. Moment, again, this is global statistics, 20% of employees feel motivated at work. Just think about that. 80% are not engaged. How much potential is being lost? how much performance is being lost. It's just stunning statistic. There's 87% of people are less likely to leave, so your attrition comes down if they're feeling motivated. There's higher performance, and obviously look at the stats in terms of dollar value. Businesses always want to know the value. $450 billion is currently lost at the moment annually due to disengagement. It's a huge number on the bottom line. So what's creating the shift? What's changing? What are the trends? It's becoming a lot more transactional. So when I was thinking about what has changed and I started doing the research, and transactional, I mean, we hear the concept all the time now in the news where the president of the USA is described as transactional. What does that mean? It's transactional. What goes in must come back out again. So motivation is no longer about just money or fulfillment. It's quite transactional and personalized. And the term now being used globally is hyper-personalization. It could be very different for different individuals. And if you don't personalize the motivation, you actually fall into the trap of the losses or the disengagement or the turnover. And well-being is become a core. 43% of people feel stressed every single day. Later in our series, we're going to be talking about one of our tools which measures health from a mental and a physical wellness perspective. I'm big on that tool, and it could be used with this to try and engage in terms of wellness, because globally, 43% being stressed means that 43% are not functioning at a high performance rate. There are 3 levels of motivation. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but just so that you know, as you look through the wheels, some of it's just passive, it happens. Some of it's extrinsic, it's environmental. Some of it's intrinsic. None of them are good or bad. They work together and they change. But just so you're aware of the range. From a global demographics point of view, I looked at engagement. And you do have millennial differences. Now, I would caution against generalizing, saying all baby boomers have this motivation. That's not necessarily true. There are trends in generations. There are trends in various countries. So I can tell you in the Middle East, there's a significant trend towards work-life balance, because unfortunately we've shifted back to a 5-day work week in the office, and it's not what drives people. It's not what motivates people. So from a cultural perspective, it doesn't matter whether it's one generation or next. It's a cultural element driving a motivation. So some of the trends, but caution that you block everybody into a box based on one of the trends. So what do we need to do? We need to be able to move beyond the demographics. We need to listen. We need to have conversations. And this is not HR or practitioners or OD practitioners having conversations with people. This is managers. It's their people. They're the ones that are going to feel the bottom line. They're the ones that have to assess performance. They're the ones that have to replace people. So you need to listen and personalize and train those managers in order to be able to do this work, of course, with the support of us or the HR team or the senior management team. They must integrate wellness. It is a global element that is fundamental now. And they need to foster inclusive leadership, which is this whole concept around psychological safety. It comes through in every single assessment. Okay. Right, so key takeaways. Motivation is dynamic. Diversity is key. Hyper-personalization. The price of ignorance is massive. It's not just a cost, it's a lost opportunity. and the opportunity to personalize will derive results. So that's just really the basics of it. But I'd like to then hand over to Gabo. I'm going to stop sharing. He'll show you about our tool. There are many tools out there, and you're welcome to, if it's our tool or somebody else's tool, we want to make sure that the concept of motivation is broadly understood and utilized. It's going to make our jobs a lot easier across the board as consultants and engagers of people and culture. So I will stop sharing now and hand over to Gabo.
So what is MQ? So MQ is a questionnaire to create individual motivation profiles. And you sometimes hear the term engagement and motivation. Now, these two are very similar. There's a lot of overlap. However, in practice, there's a huge difference. When we use employee engagement surveys and engagement tools, we look at people as kind of black boxes or atoms. As Cindy was mentioned, we are not really personalizing. We put them into a category maybe, but we don't look at their individual differences. And that's their motivation makes that additional step, that it looks at everybody as an individual, because we have somewhat different values and life circumstances and so on, and our motivation is changing and dynamic. So it's really worthwhile to look at people as individuals here. And that's what MQ does. It consists of 126 Likert type items and measures 34 scales. So it's pretty fast. For 34 independent scales, it takes around 12-15 minutes. Measures both needs and also satisfaction levels, and it shows the gaps. And it has individual profiles, but it also has group reports. The interface is optimized also for mobile phones, so people can do it also on their mobile phone. And we measure 15 needs. You see them here listed: purpose, excellence, learning, and so on, down to job security and material rewards, and 4 special skills. Now you see these 15 needs in the order that can map into many different theories. So, for example, you can map these 15 needs into intrinsic or extrinsic categories. You can also see that actually our needs are basic building blocks, like the basic Lego blocks, and you can use these basic blocks to build up any other motivational theory. It is so because this is how we designed it. We used, I'm the lead author of MQ, so we used an integrative approach. We looked at the most important influential theories about employee motivation. We put them all into one big bucket, so we integrated all, and we were identifying the basic building blocks that can link them, that can give content to them. So what is intrinsic motivation? Many people would not know the content of it, but with our needs, we bring life to these concepts. The next one, you can see the green ones, Maslow's 4 hierarchy levels. Had 5, but physiology is not really relevant to the modern workplace. So we have the other 4 levels mapped with our needs. And we can also map it to Herzberg motivators and hygiene factors. But you can also map Csikszentmihalyi's flow or Dan Pink's theories and many others. And we generate reports that people find intuitive. One is the motivation profiles, where you see more blue, higher number. It shows that this specific need is more important for you. You can see the same information also arranged on the page on the right in 2 categories, the extrinsic and intrinsic. So in our report, we are also educating people, everybody, the participants and the managers about these concepts. They just read this report and naturally absorb and understand these concepts and will be able to use them. And then we have the special skills. So positivity, it is about how resilient you are, to what degree are you experiencing more positive emotions. Perceived control is about your perception that in your current situation, to what degree with your actions you can influence your results, you can control the results, what you're experiencing at work and life. And then the energy output shows how much are you consumed by your work, how much your time and energy is utilized or consumed currently. And the ability output shows to what degree you can utilize your skills and abilities in the current job, how good platform the current job offers you to use what you've got. So these special skills, these are not needs and not satisfaction, but they are important concepts around motivation because MQ gives you everything that is important around motivation. And another report is the motivation tangents report that you see now on the left. And here we see the needs in the order of importance for everybody. So this page will look different for everybody. And so, for example, for John Damovich, the autonomy, joy of work, excellence, and so on are the most important. So these are on the top. And next to the need score, you can also see the satisfaction levels. And where there is a gap, wherever the need is higher than the satisfaction, we even highlight that scale with yellow. So, for example, here you can see that there's a gap around excellence, some gaps around learning and purpose, achievement, there's a significant gap, environment is a gap, and materials, there's a gap. So this will provide key to the manager, to the organization, to how to motivate this person better. Now, gaps are normal, and there always will be, or mostly there will be. And the key is to use this as an information. As an individual, you can use this information to align your goals and plans and actions with your gaps. And then you will experience a sustained motivation. And for an organization, especially when we have the organization view, not the individual, then we can use this to inform our HR policies. Also, the motivation can use it with key people to analyze their situation. And we also have burnout risk and some other indicators. We also have group reports, just some example pages from the group report. This one shows the averages of needs, the importance of certain need, and the satisfaction in a group. You can see the same, but now in the order of the gap. So on the top, you see the needs with the biggest satisfaction gaps. So you can see that, for example, in this group, the biggest gap is with excellence. So what would it to translate? Okay, this is a team's report. So in this team, it would be very motivating if we can help people to become better at their job. We see a gap in material rewards. It doesn't mean that we have to close this gap immediately or we have to close this gap. But the key is that we need to position work in a way that people can see that through my effort, through my work, I can increase my salary. I can increase my rewards. And then that will be a motivational factor. Autonomy, there is a gap. What would that mean for a manager? It would mean that, oh, we need to give more empowerment, more delegation, and so on. just some examples. Then the group reports also have something that is called OMI, the Organizational Motivation Index, which is the average of the individual sustainable motivation index. And it's basically the motivational capital of this team. And you have the averages of the special skills. And here you see the IMI, the motivation capital for each and every individual. So this shows how much sustainable motivation everybody has. A little bit more about what is this IMI. It's a very innovative. You will not find it in any other tool. It's indicator of a positive, sustainable motivation, a predictor of employee engagement and retention. And how we calculate it, it considers many things in the MQ. I'm not going to introduce it all, but you can see here special skills. You can see here certain needs, many intrinsic needs, but not only. You see some key satisfaction areas, some key needs. The satisfaction around that has very high impact. And at the end, you see the satisfaction of the top 5 needs for every individual, whatever is important for them, what is the satisfaction level. And we add that all up to make a composite scale to show on for every individual and every group the level of sustainable motivation. The group report also provides analysis per need about the need and satisfaction levels in the group. And here is it's anonymized. You can also have it with names or anonymized as you wish. And of course, you can also get from our system Excel export, Excel file with all the individual results, with the special indicators and the composite index scores, where there is one called employee leaving risk. Just as we can calculate the motivation capital, the sustainable motivation with what, because we measure everything around motivation and satisfaction. We have a very good idea around leaving risk, which is basically the satisfaction, critical satisfaction gaps that can be very useful to analyze retention for a company. And burnout risk, promotion need, whenever it's important, and the IMI. This is all what you can get through Excel. And how to implement MQ? Well, this would be a kind of full-scale implementation. Step 1, everybody in the organization completes the questionnaire. Step 2, the managers, they receive motivation toolbox training, where they learn deeper about this concept and they learn about how to use them. We give them very specific tools. Recognition, how can they provide that if it's autonomy, and so what can they do? So we give them more tools. And also, it's important that everybody in the organization, all participants, should receive also something back. Of course, the report is already some kind of help because they can see their own motivation much clearer way. But if we can have, if not more than just a 1-2 hours webinar with them, where we could explain and we could give them more strategies and to let them find the key to ignite more self-motivation for themselves, that would be super helpful. And we also prepare both the participants and the managers for the motivational dialogues. And the manager can use the satisfaction gaps report, only that one page, sit down with the employee. And in this dialogue, it's relatively simple for the manager because the manager only needs to listen, to ask questions. What does it mean to you? How do you see this? Ask and listen. And the critical question, do you see something where I can support you better? And that is already a big help. And we'll close that gap that very often exists between people and their managers around their needs and situation. These are topics that not easy to bring up, but with our training, we give a very safe and very simple way to talk about these issues. So, summary, the purpose of MQ is clarifying and measuring the psychological contract between employers and employees, enhancing the win-win, retain and motivate people better, and measuring motivation capital. So you can compare yourself to last year, you can compare the motivation capital in different teams. So that is helping again the HR, the organization, to decide about their policies. MQ can increase the human energy at work by helping employees to gain a better understanding of their own needs. It helps them to align better their thinking and actions, and helping leaders to become better motivators. And to sum it up, we prepared a little song. This will be the first time shown, so the global debut premiere of the MQ song.
Stepping into the room, there's a question in the air. Curiosity rising, can you see what's really there? Numbers on a dashboard, stories yet to show. A moment to measure what drive us to grow. Ooh.
Got a 12-minute quest, 100 and some items to see. Mapping individual profiles, you for you and for me. 15 you need to measure from purpose to the pay. It's the fuel of action, lighting up the working day. Are you driven by the challenge or the status you hold? Empty takes the intangible and turns it into gold.
MQ is the spark, the internal engine's light, igniting sustainable passion to make the future bright. From IMIs to the OMI heights, measuring motivation capital, reaching new sights. Oh, reach new sights. Oh, MQ ignites. With positivity and perceived control, we find our way, closing the satisfaction gaps to make the talent stay. Intrinsic energy that is built to never fade away, creating a win-win relationship in every single day.
Can you feel it when the numbers come alive? Purpose and power helping you to thrive. Every profit map, every insight in sight. Ready for action, let's get it right.
MQ is the spark, the internal engine's light, igniting sustainable passion to make the future bright. From IMIs to the OMI heights, measuring motivation capital, reaching new sights. Oh, reach new sights. Oh, MQ ignites.
Yo, let's break it down. 50 needs in the mix. From the deep internal drive, the external fix. Start purpose to serve a constant excellence. So raising the bar while learning achievement. Take your results far. Craving the challenge. Work is the key with autonomy, giving you the room to be free. That's the intrinsic quantifier inside. But don't forget the ISIC where the condition resides. Work-life balance keeps your personal time clear. And a modern environment means you love being here. It is normal to long for power, status, and fame. Seeking recognition from the boss for your name. Be that harmony, vibrations, smooth with job security and model reward. To prove the truth, 50 pillars, the foundation of the core. Measuring the drive so your talent can soar.
MQ is the spark, the internal engine's light, igniting sustainable passion to make the future bright. From IMIs to the OMI heights, measuring motivation capital, reaching new sights. Oh, reach new sights. Oh, MQ ignites.
So I hope you could hear it and see it. Yeah.
You. And we prepared a bit of interactive part for the end. You can also stay a little bit longer. And to warm up for the Q&A, I want to share a story that I think can answer maybe many of the questions as well. So we used MQ as part of assessment centers with a company for a couple of years in a row. And there was a specific year where there was it was for middle managers, one middle manager that was really outstanding in terms of not only his performance, but also how well suited was to the company culture. Because this company didn't like too aggressive people. a Japanese company. So this person was exactly the kind of Japanese way of doing things, and at the same time performed in all of the exercises very high. However, had a very high employee living risk score. And we asked him, and he felt that he's in a position where he cannot use his abilities. Yeah, his ability utilization was very low. So we always report about the AC results to the high-level managers. And when we introduced about the result about this gentleman, the CFO said that I know he thinks he's a bit shot. He thinks of himself very highly, and he thinks he could do much more. But he's kind of his tone said that we don't really think so. And next time when I meet them, and I asked, because we would do regular services with this company, he said that, well, he left, not with us anymore. And this CFO later on became a general manager of a joint venture that our client established. And this joint venture had around 80 people. And the first thing he did with his new company is we did MQ. We did it all. We did the motivation tools training for the managers. We did the motivation skills, self-motivation skills training to everybody, and other things as well. And the this general manager himself did the motivation dialogues with his key people, and he did identify important things, and he did retain their people, and they became a uh, loyal user of OD tools, just as the first company where we used our tools in our assessment centers. So with that, Ildiko, Cindy, do you have any other story to share, or should we proceed?
I'll share one briefly, just to encourage people that, even if you're not utilizing the tool in its totality, if you want to just start things going, what I did was I used the concept of motivation and the MQ concept at a very big oil and gas conference that was being held for the Middle East. It was from all over the Middle East, and in fact, they had people from Europe coming in for this oil and gas conference. And what I did was I placed 3 intrinsic, 3 extrinsic motivators on flip charts around the room. We used this as an icebreaker. We asked people to go and stand at the flip chart, the motivator that motivated them the most, what drove them the most, and to write down in the group what it was, why they selected that. Interestingly enough, the group for work-life balance was significant, right? And we talked about it, we debriefed, and it's really about the Middle East not having that work-life balance and hybrid working environments. But there were people dotted around everywhere, but there was a significant group. Then I asked them to move to a slide or a flip chart which least motivated them. That really didn't matter. It might be there in a tiny piece, but it wasn't necessarily there. And that whole room switched around. But what they could do is they could see at the flip chart that they were standing at why it was a motivator to other people. Because obviously, those that were highly motivated by that had put details on it. And in that way, I was able to not only get them to understand their motivational drivers and what wasn't that important to them to have that conversation, but to understand why it might be a different set of drivers for their peers, their managers, their direct reports. And it started a whole conversation. But in order to do that, I would strongly recommend that if you're going to use an exercise like that, you do need to be quite familiar with the MQ. So even if you're not doing it for an organization, I'd encourage you to do it yourself so that you've got some type of talking point and you understand the concepts and the drivers and how it works and what the reporting looks like to kind of facilitate that. So that's just a brief example of using it in a different setting.
Yeah, and that's a very good example to show that, yes, our motivation is somewhat decided by the environment, but there is also one realm where our thinking, our perception, our ideas, and what we hear and see from the environment does impact us. And this is the impact that we can do with MQ. We can shift a little bit the focus to people, and they start to see things that maybe they haven't seen before or they ignored before.
Yeah, I also have a story, but perhaps we can ask the participants whether they have questions. Yeah, because time is rushing. So, do you have any questions?
I don't have questions, but I'd like to confirm the idea of the science behind motivation. There is a very important discover in the company. In the Italian companies, we are still thinking to motivation like events or entertainment and something which is external. What I'm doing with many clients, especially with the big clients, for example, the Italian ferries, is to give them this idea of the science that is behind motivation and how it's important to understand the needs, especially when we talk about the new generations, because we sometimes we make mistakes with the generalization, thinking that young guys don't like to work, they're not motivated. But we have to understand their environment, their connections. We have to understand how they think. And these tools, our tools, all the tools, allow a manager to understand what drives people, especially when they are in a different generation. So if we grow up with we have grown up with the sense of, you have to work, you must work. Nowadays it's different. Nowadays we have to understand why people should do a task, and we have to explain the task, connecting the task with the need of the people. So this is a great revelation, and thank you to auditors for this very important tool to add to the companies and to the manager to manage their business and their people. Thank you.
Thank you, Massimiliano. I cannot agree more, actually, because the story I wanted to tell you actually is very similar, or I really agree that motivation is not coming from outside, so it's not an external source, but we need to understand the needs of our people who work in a company. So, for example, we were running a motivation survey in a company. About 50 people filled in the survey, and after that, we worked with them on workshops. And then the motivation attention report showed that there was a significant gap connected to achievement. And we started to explore this deeper, and then it became evident that the issue was not about the individual capability or the effort or whatever that a manager would think, but it was coming from the frustration which was caused by actually processes that the employees fully committed to a new strategic direction, invested energy, and they really focused on the execution. And then there was a global decision that would suddenly shift the priorities to another direction. And it happened in the past 2 years, I think 3 times. And then, many people during the workshop described this feeling like breaking water. And then immediately, what I was really happy about, that the conversation started between the employees and the management, and the management started to work on how they can, change the processes so that there won't be so sudden shifts also they realized that they need to strengthen the organizational resilience and agility of their people, and we started to work on that. So I think this is a really key takeaway, that this achievement, this satisfaction, for example, can come from motivational sources, not because of performance issues or efforts.
Other questions, comments from our audience?
Just quickly from my side, Gabor, I think it's just excellent. Honestly, if I listen to this again after studying it myself, just to get a deeper understanding, but why every company is not applying this, I can't understand that. It's really so key to your work-life balance, your sense of satisfaction in what you do and everything else, and from a leadership management position to get those insights. I mean, it's just so obvious that you need it long before you understand anything technical and what's the next thing to do and innovate or whatever. But I mean, you have to take the people with you, and if you understand them better, it's just it can become a joy, everything. So no, congratulations once again from my side on this.
Thank you, Gerhard. And I just would like to say that it is a very fastly growing number of companies that are using it. And a lot of the reason why not everybody is using it, because they are not aware, they don't know. It's a very unique and innovative tool. Usually the motivation approaches are very simple surveys and there's no individual profiles. There's nothing that the individual gets. It's more like data science approaches, which again looks at people in categories. And doesn't look at the individual differences. So it's a very unique approach. And if companies hear about it, then definitely they will be motivated to use it.
So are there any other questions or comments? Well, then can we call it a day, Gabor? Okay. So thank you for all.
Comment.
Yes, sorry, Cindy.
Yeah. So if we can just ask the participants, to Gabor's point, people just don't know about this. This is going to be recorded, or it is recorded, and I'm sure we'll be able to share. Please share it with your networks, whether that's on LinkedIn or Instagram or on TikTok, whatever it is. The more awareness we can create, the more satisfied employees are going to be globally. Our objective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us for
Thank
the
you.
OD Tools webinar.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
And we really appreciated your time and interest. And see you next time.
See you.
See you next time.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.